Hey my dudes, my name is Cecilia and welcome to another week in my kitchen here in Stockholm. This week we are making brown butter and whiskey Madeleines. These Madeleines are inspired by a restaurant I used to work at way back in the day. I was an intern, and after dinner, you would get served your coffee and tea, and the restaurant would freshly bake off Madeleines to send out to their guests while they were eating, and they were hot and delicious and absolutely amazing. And I just always thought that that was just the coolest thing. And the level of customer service in that was just really mind-blowing to me at the time, and continues to be. I continue to think that that is super awesome. So these Madeleines are inspired by that time in my life, but they're definitely a little bit more of like the make-it-home version. So instead of me continuing to wax euphoric over these, let's just get started.
Begin by browning 130 grams of butter. Place your butter in a small pan. As I am impatient, I like to put the heat on high and stir continuously. I find this to be faster and less of those delicious brown bits end up stuck to the bottom of the pan. Once the butter becomes a light brown, turn off the heat, but continue whisking as the butter will continue to take on color. You want your butter to end up being a nice dark brown, not burnt, but dark brown. This is when it has the best flavor. Set to the side to let cool down. Into the bowl of your stand mixer, add 130 grams of sugar, 20 grams of honey, and 3 eggs. Using the paddle attachment, whip on high until very pale and foamy. Add 20 grams of whiskey. Let mix until well incorporated. Next, sift in 150 grams of flour, 4 grams of salt, and 5 grams of baking soda. Let mix slowly, just until the flour starts to be incorporated. It's okay if a few lumps are left. They will get worked out in a minute. Lastly, stream in the cooled down brown butter. It should now be just warm, no longer hot, but not yet re-solidified. Once the last of the butter is in, I like to take the bowl off the machine and finish the batter by hand. There's always some butter left at the bottom. Make sure you're really scraping underneath and everything is homogeneous. No lumps of flour or streaks of butter. Pour into a piping bag. If you don't have piping bags, a Tupperware would work just fine. Tie off the piping bag and allow the batter to rest in the fridge for at least 12 hours.
Our dough has been resting overnight, and now it is time to prepare our little molds here. I have some melted butter here, and we're just gonna make sure that every single little shell is really, really well coated in butter, like drippy. This form is a little bit wonky, a little untraditional. I got it at now I don't know what the real word I'm looking for is here, but like an open air market in Morocco in 2012. And I think this is like the second time I'm using it. So you want to take your piping bag and just cut a small hole. And again, you can use a spoon if you wanted to. I just find a piping bag to be easier, but like use what you have on hand. And we don't want to put too much in here. Like this looks like it's a really small amount, but it really like puffs up a lot. All right, let's see how even that is. I think those should be pretty okay. These bake hot and fast. So we're going into a 200°C oven, full fan, and they're gonna be in for like 3 minutes. We're gonna start checking them. It's gonna take anywhere between 3 and 4 minutes. Like these need like 30 seconds at a time, like not even. This is not like I'll check them in 5 or 10 minutes kind of thing. Absolutely not. They cook so fast. All right, guys, so these took 4.5 minutes, like legitimately 30 seconds. I was like opening the oven like every 15 seconds after 3:30 just to check them. Now, what I like to do is as soon as they come out, we're gonna brush them with more butter. These are not cookies to have or like the thing to bake if you are counting calories. Butter is life, butter is love. And you can see the difference in how this obviously was not as much batter as this one. Sometimes we are not perfect. By sometimes, I mean very, 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 very often. We want to knock these out right away. And also, right away, we're flipping them over onto their little faces. Would it be better if I had a rack? Yes, it would. I do not have a rack, so we're twerking with what we got here. I got a bowl of just white sugar, and while they're still warm, we're gonna paint with even more butter and dip in sugar. Look how beautiful that is. Yum, 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 yum. I'm just trying to make these as nice and as delicious as possible. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. You can skip this with the sugar. I really like that like gritty texture in your mouth that the sugar will give you. Like, again, I like that. If you don't like that, then you can skip this. I would, however, recommend still coating the outside with a little bit of extra butter because, again, butter is love, butter is life. These are not traditional Madeleines, but you know what? They're delicious Madeleines. What is very, 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 very important with these is that you have to eat them while they're warm. They're so much better fresh. Very American of me to have a tumbler full of iced coffee, but so good. There's so much ice. My very American Snickers. But honestly, these are so good. Now, if you can't or won't or don't want to or whatever, serve them warm. They are going to be just fine room temperature. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that it's the difference between being like, this is really tasty and sweet. Yum. And being like, oh my God. Delicious, right? So like, what experience do you want to have? Obviously, I prefer the latter, but that's just me. You do whatever works for you. And what's really fun about this batter is like, yes, you need to let it sit for at least 12 hours in the fridge, but once it's done that, especially if it's in a piping bag, it can last in this piping bag for like 5 days. So you don't need, it's so much better to make a couple Madeleines at a time as you want to eat them than make like this, like all of them from all of the batter and then have the cookies like ready to eat. Like, don't do that. Like, keep the batter in the refrigerator and just bake them off as you want to eat them because it's such a better experience, right? And side note, if you're gonna keep it in a piping bag like this, every kitchen needs a roll of masking tape. So what you wanna do is clean up the tip like that, and then take your tape, make sure it's cut, don't be lazy. Take a nice piece of tape, and then fold the tip over, fold it over, tape it. This way no extra air gets in and it's not gonna like splooge all in your refrigerator. This is what you wanna do. This is what we do in professional restaurants. Hot tip, now you know. There you go. Put this back in the fridge if you're not using it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this week's video, then please like, comment, subscribe, all the things as per usual. And I hope that you have a super great week. Hej då!